I rushed into my 7th period class, only 5 minutes remaining. Everybody was loudly talking, silencing as I walked through the class to Miss Anderson's desk. "Are you Leo Taurus?" Miss Anderson cautiously asked. I froze. Nathan changed the name of my identity, so how did she know I was... Nathan changed the name of my identity, so how did she know I was Leo Taurus? "Check again," I said. "My name is actually David Martinez." Miss Anderson rolled back in her office chair and began to mouse scroll down her class sheet. Her face lit up when she stopped scrolling. "You really are David Martinez," Miss Anderson exclaimed. "Take a seat down at any one of the empty seats available." Sat down in an empty seat furthest away from any students. I was so happy that my fraud worked, but I was still wondering what happened to Nathan. He didn't emerge from the basement, meaning that he had to still be down there. "Please clean up all your supplies, students. Class is about to end," Miss Anderson yelled. As I began to get comfortable in my seat, I shot up when I realized my backpack wasn't with me anymore. I remembered having it with me the whole time I was in the basement, even when I was with Nathan helping him with the fraud links. That meant one of two things: my backpack was stolen while I was running in the basement, or that teacher who confronted me stole it. She seemed suspicious, even on her first impression. I never saw her walk with me away from the basement. Rather, she most likely entered the basement. School was finally 3:15, August 22nd. School was finally dismissed. Boy, was that an interesting day at school. I was happy to finally be out of school. My 8th period class turned out to be the most boring piece of crap on my schedule, followed by my elective, which I didn't have any choice in, by the way. During 8th period, I couldn't stop thinking about everything that went down. I still hadn't seen Nathan, so I was scouring the front side of the school in hopes of finding him. On some good news, however, Friday is tomorrow. For whatever reason, this year, the school year started on Thursday. That meant that Friday is the day after the first day of school. I found that a bit weird. My good friend David. I shot around, mouth open, as I was now face to face with Nathan. I was sitting down on a bench waiting for something good to happen, like Nathan showing up or my mom picking me up. All the students had drained from the school at this point, leaving just me and several other people left. "Nathan," I exclaimed, "I thought you were locked down in that basement forever." Nathan smiled. "Sorry about all of that. I had to make a quick detour and hide from one of the worst members of that group, Anthony." "Anthony? I don't want to talk about him, so let's drop the conversation about that person right here," Nathan said. "So, any good news? Did the fraud link edits work?" I nodded my head enthusiastically, smiling in reciprocation to Nathan. "They worked like a charm." "Good. I'm sure you noticed this, but..." Nathan paused before continuing, much slower and deeper now. "Your backpack got stolen today, if you haven't noticed." Nathan's face became flushed as I let the realization of my stolen backpack sink in for the second time. "By who?" Nathan paused before speaking. "Me, but don't get mad. Let me explain why. Me, but don't get mad. Let me explain why I stole your backpack." I looked at Nathan as he scratched his head, dandruff falling out onto the bench. I looked at him angrily. Out of all the people who could have stolen my backpack, I would have expected him to be the least likely individual to have stolen it. "What in the heck?" I laid my hand on Nathan's shoulder and squeezed it, allowing some tension to vent out of myself. Okay. Let me explain before you start yelling at me." Nathan slid my hand off his shoulder, securing strong eye contact with me. "I stole your backpack because after you leave that basement, they need something of value from you. And now that I gave them something of extreme value, my worth in their group as a fraud has gone up significantly." I began to swiftly move around in my seat. I was furious. "You're so stupid. They put up wanted posters in that basement. I'm the wanted one. I'm the person they want to kill. That backpack has my name written all over it. Do you think this is some joke?" Nathan signaled me to quiet down as I lifted my hand to give him a good slap on the face. "Your new name is David Martinez. They won't know a darn thing," Nathan ridiculed. "And if they try to kill you, I'll make sure they won't lay a finger on you." My hand lay suspended in the air as he spoke. I lifted my hand to my side and calmed down a little. "You will?" I was beginning to feel a bit better from Nathan's words, but was still very upset for the most part. I was going to get yelled at by my mom because of my backpack, and that's something way out of my control. It really sucks, doesn't it? "You know what, David?" Nathan slightly Nathan sighed deeply as sorrow appeared in his eyes. Let's drop the conversation right here, right now. We'll talk about this tomorrow, but just know that even though it may not seem like it, I want to be your friend and help you with your new fraud. Nathan got up from the bench and waved goodbye. I waved goodbye with little effort and silently stared at the concrete beneath my feet. I think I needed to get up and begin walking home already, going home with no backpack but lots of questions. 1 hour later. The walk home from the high school was tough. The sky was overcast when I left the school, and now fog was rolling in. The temperatures had significantly cooled, and I was dressed up in shorts and short sleeves. Matter of fact, actually, even though I had been walking home for an hour, I wasn't even close to home. I had just passed the fairgrounds. The fairgrounds looked depressing in this weather. Police tape was still surrounding the perimeter of this once grassy green pasture. It was a disappointing sight, if I had to be honest. I had a bad feeling about what tomorrow would bring at school. With my new name and the sudden disappearance of Leo Torres from the school database, would the teachers know what happened? I had a completely new identity, but not a new style of appearance. Once I got home, I had to work on that department relentlessly to prepare myself for tomorrow and the weeks to come, more specifically to protect myself from bloodshed. It began to slowly rain 30 or so minutes after I passed the fairgrounds. The weather matched what it was like at Joshua's funeral. Soon I had made it home, right before the torrential downpour began. That was the best part. My parents weren't home, meaning that the house was mine for an unspecified amount of time. I dug through my pocket and eventually pulled out the house key I always hold with me. I unlocked the front door and let myself in. Step one was going upstairs into my room and researching certain topics on my phone, which is always on my nightstand. I needed to learn and read up on how to change my identity, more specifically, how to make it work. Step one was complete. I did a 1 hour Google search binge, and now had so much knowledge regarding identity change. I began wearing different clothes and become a mysterious person. I had tons of hoodies and black sweatpants at my disposal, so I was going to wear and try out every single one of those clothes. Step 2 was developing a new personality. This was going to be the toughest part of everything. I knew nothing about this specific area, and I like the way I normally act. It's authentic to me, but now there was no choice except to throw out the old me and bring in my David Martinez self, which is very similar to my authentic original self, just a higher emphasis on body language. Something else came to mind as I was searching on Google about these topics. I could go to the school library and check out some books regarding personality and identity change. It was a very niche topic, however. If I was having any trouble finding anything solid on Google, that was a sign that it may be impossible to find anything in the library, especially a school library. I continued the search for the next few hours relentlessly, trying several tips I found, taking even more into consideration. 10:57 p.m., August 22nd, 2019. I skipped my dinner only because I was too occupied with researching. I realized it was about to hit 11 o'clock when I finally got hungry. I tried everything for the past few hours. How to change your personality by a verified psychologist. How to make your fraud work by an unknown author. Change your identity to get an ex back by Caitlin Martin. And Make a Nefarious Lie in the Moonlight of a First Quarter Moon by Becky Tomlinson. All of these articles proved to be helpful. I thoroughly read through all of the articles to make sure that I was using their techniques correctly, and I think I've mastered all of them. I can make a double-sided face, a facade, a fraud, and most importantly, a lie for everyone to believe. I put my phone down on my nightstand before walking downstairs to get a snack. I felt happy with everything I had achieved. It was only the first day of school, but it was the most eventful day of school I had ever experienced in my life. I quietly ate a granola bar at my dining table in complete silence. The silence was filled with my emotions. 8:23:19, 7 a.m. I believe my parents were still not home, even at 7 in the morning. God knows how long ago they left and why. At this point, I had showered, gotten dressed in my David Martinez clothes, practiced the techniques I had learned a little bit, and with full confidence could say I was ready for the second day of school. I was excited. I left the house just shy of 7 a.m., locking the house door behind me. I left my house and soon I left the neighborhood soon I left my house and soon the neighborhood, walking down the busy avenue. The morning sun was blazing down on the city, allowing the roosters to perform their annoying morning song and people to emerge from their warm beds. I wondered what the second day of school would bring. Would I meet the Clyde killers again today? Would I infiltrate the school basement and head down there for more fraudulent activity? I would have to wait for the day to begin for any answers. I knew that the first thing I would do when I got to the high school was head to the library and scour through the many books in the nonfiction aisle to hopefully find what I was looking for. I think I forgot how long the walk to the high school was from my home. I was going to be tardy to not only my advisory class, but quite possibly my second period class. Despite most likely being absent from my advisory class, I was still going to the school library to find a book I could read. I realized that I didn't have a backpack once I saw Greenfield High School appear in the distance. That was going to make today an annoying day at the school. I wondered why that so-called bully group was named the Clyde Killers. I found that strange. They could have picked something unique, such as the Maggots. I like that name more than what they've named themselves. I found it suspicious that Nathan didn't emerge from the basement after I did. He seemed like a good guy, but he could possibly have bad intentions. That Ronald person accepted him so quickly. They seemed like best friends. Or maybe I'm getting this all wrong. Nathan did talk about him hiding from Anthony, but he could be lying through his teeth. I was going to have to question Nathan about all of that later today. I don't feel like getting betrayed, especially after after everything that happened with Mr. Franklin. I finally made it to the school library. I knew that it was definitely time for me to go to class, but the library was the only thing on my mind at the time. I walked breezily through the empty front campus to the front of the library. The door was cracked open a tiny bit, so I let myself in. "Hello," the librarian greeted me from a faraway book aisle. "What are you here for?" "I'm here to check out some books," I said with full confidence. The librarian looked confused. We haven't given out library ID cards yet, so we're going to have to input your name into the database so you can check out a book. Is that okay?" I ignored what the librarian had said and immediately headed to the nonfiction aisle of the library in hopes of finding a book that would inform me of identity change. I carefully examined every last book in that aisle, eventually realizing that there was no book regarding identity change in the nonfiction aisle. I sighed deeply, heading on to the next aisle titled Psychology. I was sure to find something here. Through my intense search and the commotion I was making, the librarian got suspicious and went toward my aisle. "What book are you trying to look for?" she yelled. "You're messing up my whole library." I put all the books that were in my hands back on the shelf. "I'm trying to find a book in the psychology aisle," I replied. "I'm sorry, ma'am." The librarian raised her eyebrow. "What's the book titled?" I didn't know what a book regarding identity change would be called. I became fearful as I didn't know what I could say to the librarian in the heat of the moment. I'd most likely get kicked out if I said that I didn't know what I was searching for, or I could confess my fraud to her right in her face, and she would forever know that I was Leo Taurus. "It's called..." "Wait, hold on." I coughed in my sleeve after I stuttered, choking on my words. After a few seconds of silence, I got myself together and said, "It's called How to Change Identity." The librarian gasped at my words. "You're looking for that book?" I nodded my head silently. "Why do you need this book to begin with?" she asked suspiciously. This was it. I was completely doomed after this question. When I broke the first silence earlier, I made up some random book name that I originally thought never existed, but judging by the librarian's exclamation and surprise, it clearly does exist. "I need it for my friend," I muttered under my breath, clear sweat drops developing on my forehead. The librarian took a few seconds to respond in any way before she began to step out of the nonfiction aisle and head out of the psychology aisle and headed to the fiction aisle. "You would find a book titled How to Change Identity in the fiction aisle," the librarian sneered. "Why in the world would somebody look in the psychology aisle for a book like that?" I was beginning to feel embarrassed. I knew I shouldn't feel embarrassed, however. As the librarian took me over to the fiction aisle, she grabbed a blue hardcover book titled How to Change Identity by Chris Stewart. "Here you go," the librarian quietly mumbled, handing the book in my hands. "We need to check it out first before you leave the library. Follow me, sir." I rolled my eyes in contempt. I didn't want to stay here any longer. I read the time on the only analog clock located in the school. It read 8:22 a.m. That meant I had missed all of advisory and at this rate would be missing the entire class period. I knew my mom wouldn't be happy when she saw an unexcused absence in my attendance. "Hand the book over," the librarian said as I found myself right before the wooden center desk, widening my eyes as I realized I caught myself out of a daze created by rumination. I handed the blue book over to the librarian. "Beep!" The librarian scanned the barcode on the back of the book before handing it to me. "Your name is?" she waffed, laughing hysterically at my facial expression as I embarrassed myself. "Leo." I was so close to saying my full name at that point when my brain was turned off. I immediately got back into the world and corrected myself. "David Martinez." The librarian was aggressively typing on her keyboard. When she stopped, she grabbed the computer mouse and clicked on my name. "All right, you're good, David," the librarian smiled. "And one question before you go." I snapped around. "What is it?" "Are you a student here?" "Yeah, why?" "Get your butt to class. Why are you in the library ditching your class?" The librarian picked up a nearby phone as she called for the principal. "Go! Flee!" I dashed out of the library into the hallway. The bell had just rung when I left the library, so I changed my trajectory and headed straight to second period. I found myself in the middle of right hall, far away from the class I needed to be in. I had to sprint as quickly as I could all the way to F hall to not be tardy to Miss Garcia's class. The school was huge. End of second period. For a quick summary, I wasn't tardy to Miss Garcia's class. I actually had quite a lot of time to spare once I got to her class. As usual, her class was boring. Nothing eventful happened. All we did the whole period was work on stupid assignments she would hand out every 20 to 25 minutes or so. Luckily, they were easy. That book that I had checked out from about an hour ago was still in my hands. I didn't have a backpack to store it in. During the whole period, I was eager to open the book and see what I could find. It was classified as a fictitious book for whatever reason, but despite that, I may be able to learn a thing or two from this quirky book. Luckily, Miss Garcia called out David Martinez when she was taking attendance. She completely forgot about Leo Torres, apparently. Best thing was that she didn't question it. As the bell rang, at the end of the period, we were all glued to our chairs as we waited for Miss Garcia to excuse us from the class. That rule she created only strengthened the hate everybody had with her. Apparently, she implemented this rule because yesterday every period left the room a mess after they left. So now she was going to punish us for that. I'm sure that's the janitor's job to clean everything up, not ours. Anyhow, long story short, we were excused 2 minutes after the bell, leaving only 3 minutes for all of us to get to our third period class. I was looking forward to gym class only because I could see Nathan. I wondered what activity we were going to do in PE today. I hoped it was something fun like dodgeball or soccer. I felt like something was off at school today. The hallways felt a bit different, the walls were painted in a more monochrome color, and everything felt overall more monotonous. Maybe that was just me. David! I shot my head back and saw Nathan running towards me through the crowded hallways. "Nathan!" I loudly said through the hallways. I loudly shouted. I shouted through the hallways. Nathan gave me a huge hug as a greeting. That felt suspicious. "So glad to see you at school today," he excitedly said. As Nathan let go of his long hug, I felt something inside of me change. I felt a bit nauseous, but I disregarded it as some sort of side effect. The previous night, I was still walking to gym class with Nathan when suddenly he stopped me from walking any further. "Let's not head to gym class," Nathan said, pulling me away with great force from the gymnasium hall. I turned around in anger, trying to fight Nathan. "Let me go to gym class. I'm not going to be truant." "Too bad," Nathan teased as he grabbed my collar and pulled me close to him. "You yell at me one more time and I'll tell everybody in this school about the fraud and the group will kill you mercilessly." Nathan threatened. I immediately stopped trying to evade Nathan's strong grasp he had on me. I listened to him with full concentration. We're cutting the hallways to the back door of this school so we can take a walk in the side yard this period, Nathan whispered. Let's head out before anybody catches us. Nathan grabbed my shirt, soon letting go as I walked with him.